Just want to welcome everyone to this meeting. As I had mentioned, my name is Margaret Nkhosi, and this is a special training and also an introduction to Digital Earth Africa, hosted by, of course, ZAGIT and Digital Earth Africa itself. Today we have the pleasure of being joined by and being facilitated by Dr. Kenneth Mubea. I think he'll guide us through what Digital Earth Africa is, how we can use it, the different training programs that are available, the Sandbox, and also other Geo Portal tools that will facilitate our development as geospatial professionals. Before we start, I think we also have, aside from Dr. Mubea, we also have the pleasure of being joined by Mr. Ziwa, Engineer Ziwa. Would you like to have it? Do you have any opening remarks, Mr. Ziwa?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy for this event to take place today. I think I've been to talk to Kenneth for a month now. I just want to invite everyone that has come to join to please pay attention. We'll learn a lot, and we're hoping to use this as a beginning of our collaboration with Digital Earth Africa, so that in future we'll have more intense training and collaborations with Digital Earth Africa. And I'm sure there'll be a number of institutions that are here that will be interested in this product. So I would like to encourage you to please open your minds. Feel free to ask the questions that you need. I think Kenneth is so interested in especially user applications. So be sure to see that it is something that is applicable to your daily needs, and be able to ask and see how they'll be able to blend in and able to answer your daily questions as regards to the digital earth observation. Otherwise, thank you very much, Kenneth, for sparing your time to come through, and welcome to ZAGIT.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ziwa. So over to you, Kenneth. Maybe you can also just give us a brief introduction about yourself, aside from what we know from LinkedIn about how you're a globally recognized geospatial expert. You can also just give us how you got a brief introduction on how you started working and operating Digital Earth Africa. Over to you, Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for the opportunity. I also have a humble background in the same field, having started as a geomatic engineer and also did my PhD in Germany, and have worked in the academia, and also went to the NGOs. I also started in the private sector. The first job with Google, doing the Google Maps for the whole of Africa, which was very exciting. Then I worked for Esri, private sector as well. Then academia. Then was able to go back now to NGO world, where we were able to create more impacts. I was previously with the USAID NASA program called SAVIR in Africa, where we were supporting West and Eastern Africa, as well as collaboration with other hubs in Asia. And it was a very good experience, having thought that one day you'll think about the NASA programs, and one day you'll actually be able to work with some of their scientists who are doing amazing work. Then on the other side, I was able to join the UN Foundation, supporting one of their programs called Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data. It's a program which supports a lot of statistical agencies, and I mentioned to my colleagues in Zambia, where we were actually supporting Zambia statistics and so on. And in that particular program, we had now a specific program for Earth observation, where we started there was the Open Data Cube technology, which was called Africa Regional Data Cube, covering 5 countries. And with the support of the Australian government, we were able to create Digital Earth Africa, funded by Australian government and Helmsley Trust in the US. So this Digital Earth Africa program was launched in August 2019 at Regional Center for Mapping here in Nairobi, serving East and Southern Africa. And initially we started with at least 5 or 6 partners across the continent whom I will be able to share in the presentation. And the program has evolved during various phases, even at one time hosted at South Africa National Space Agency, and working with great partners to unlock the promise of tomorrow, as dubbed in my presentation. So this particular program, Digital Africa, is coming to solve the need, where now is hosted by Amazon Web Services, meaning that we're able to save governments and countries the cost of hardware, because now with the internet connectivity, like today we are connected with the Zambia Association of Geospatial Scientists, and we are in this forum discussing opportunities for what we can do for Zambia, for example. So you can see the platform is really fit for purpose, open and free data. This training is also free, and also we could also schedule a follow-up as well to make sure that those ones who attended today can have another follow-up opportunity and be able to interact with us and get more information and feedback on where they want to see their programs. So with that continental and Pan-African vision, we are having partners across the continent, as I mentioned earlier on. And these partners are very key because they've helped us in validating some of our continental services. They've also helped us in getting the feedback on what some of the needs and the priorities. The first service, as I'll show you, was based on the water observation from space. But the critical message is that we are providing the satellite data from these space agencies, the Landsat from the USGS, Landsat 5, 7, 8, and 9. And you can look at the years in your research. Something from 1985 is quite useful. From the European Space Agency, we provide access to Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 in analysis-ready format, which means you don't have really to download. You're actually able to go there and get a fit-for-purpose data to make some informed decisions. You could be looking at some changes, cropping, some changes in the vegetation cover. So you can do a lot of this, and all these data sets that we provide, we also have the notebooks in our Jupyter notebook, the Sandbox. This is based on open data cube technology. And what we are looking like in the continent is providing tools that can help in reporting of sustainable development goals. We are looking at our national development agendas, where the governments maybe change after every 5 years, but critically looking at the African Union vision of African Union Agenda 2063. So providing that broader spectrum. And if you ask yourself, one of the needs in the continent will be water. So we have this service on water observation from space, which spans over 35 or 37 years of data from 1985. We can actually visualize water availability from space and help countries better manage their resources and even know where they are. In the food security, we started with a crop mask or a crop tool, which was developed as a pilot in the year 2019-2020. We used the Sentinel 5 to get an idea of the agricultural economic zones, and we had data sets where we could actually validate from reference data. And this was done by partners across the continent. And it was very valuable service, which later on will be replicated later based on the needs that evolve. From the water observation from space, we have the water body service, which is very key, and it gives you information on individual water bodies across the continent, which are very key to see what has happened over the 3 decades, what happened in the 80s, what happened in the 90s, 2000, and so on and so on. So it gives us an idea of what are the impact of climate change. Some water bodies have dried, some have reemerged, and so on and so on. So we can see the trend, as I'll be able to show you in the examples. Access to the Digital Africa data is possible and is free. We have the Digital Africa map user interface, where even a journalist can come in and get information about any locality or any location. We have the Jupyter notebook, which gives now the Sandbox, and this is pre-run notebooks in Jupyter, Python, and you're able to pre-run notebooks and even share with other notebooks that you could have in Google Earth Engine and develop your own. So we create that environment that we leave no one behind. And on the software side, you can use a program from any other software like QGIS or Esri or other platforms, because you have that API connectivity. Then also you're able to access the the free online resources that I'll be able to share with you so that you can be able to start somewhere and even share the good news with your friends. So access to the Digital Africa through the website, digitalafrica.org. We have the platform, and there you can even search for Lake Bangweulu as an example, and we can look at the water as how it is, water observation from space, and from the legend we can see areas which have remained water and areas which have changed over time. We can even look at annual water summaries every year, seeing the situation. The colors on the other side means one time there was water, but maybe there was a possible, it was maybe a flood time and it has dried over time. But what is in the middle is what has remained as the lake, as what many can attest to, and even if you do validation with other data sets. So you can move between years, and without downloading data. A very key resource. You can even share the link and share with anybody that you have on in your forum. We also have the Sandbox, which is free to use, free registration, and it has these pre-run notebooks. We have different folders where you can actually access and try to run the scripts on your own. It's very easy, and actually now yours is just to change the extent of the area, the geographic coordinates. You'll be wanted to look at the urban, you would like to look at the water extent, you would like to look at the agriculture, so on and so on. So in this particular example, we have different folders, as I mentioned, in the Sandbox, and I'll be able to show you shortly the examples. And we are looking from water extent, crop health, vegetation, irrigation, many applications, over 150 notebooks. Digital Africa main mission is to help countries and institutions and champions to create impact. And us, we are working also to document how it's been used and some of the opportunities that you could have to showcase on your end. So if you're looking at Lake Bangweulu, I showed you in the example, we could view it using the water observation from space. Then you can also overlay it with another layer in the background. Then also in the same, you could also look at other water bodies like Lake Karibe, and you can look over the years what has really happened over time. The water observation from space is available for the whole continent. So we can also look at other big water bodies in the continent and you get to see how they have changed over time. So the example of Lake Bangweulu was an interesting one, and we can also use the water body service to show you the individual areas and noting areas which have remained water and areas which have been temporarily water and not all the time are water. In the same example in the Sandbox, we have an example where if you run the same area for this particular lake, we could look at long-term animations and try to visualize the percentage of water and maybe noting times when it had increased volumes and times maybe it had decreased volumes from space. This one you can do it for any water body. And this is the typical workaround in the Sandbox. In the Sandbox, there's a notebook on the water bodies, long-term animation, the real-world examples. And this is where you change your extent and you're able to run the script. And you're able to load the data. And you're able to see the polygon covering the area for you. And then now you're able to locate the exact extent of that water body in your map. And you just copy it there and it will run only for that particular section. So this shows you how it's easy to manage and run the scripts. And at the end of this session, we'll share the link to the presentation so that you can follow along after we've had this great engagement with you. I believe there'll be questions that you might have or other examples that we could look at. And this is a program which is open and free, and it's really help you to even change the way you work or complement the existing work that you have or programs that you intend to undertake or work with other partners. So the same we could replicate and see how you can work on other water bodies in the continent, even bigger water bodies, and you could also have very interesting results as well. So this is a fit for purpose tool for us to make use and support the Pan-African dream of making sure we are supporting each other and we have access to the tools that we need for decision making and sustainability of different programs in the continent. So with Earth observation, we are unlocking a lot of potential. And you can see such a research, it meant that you had to download various images to even come up with that index to develop. So we are really unlocking a lot of potential. We could also look at seasonal animations. And this one is another notebook just next to the water bodies. And for the same area, we're able to show similar results with what we had previously. But now this one, we're able to add more information, possibly on the rainfall, so that we can actually compare what has been happening and the evidence that we have from rainfall. So when we have increased rainfall, at least we are sure of the levels of the lake rising and respectively. So we are trying to very much respond to the various requests and making sure we are presenting information that it might be useful for you and how it could actually impact some of your work and improve your workflows, the work that you do. So with that also, we've worked with our partner in West Africa to develop a notebook which shows you the extent of flooding. And this was based on a use case in Nigeria, somewhere Lokoja. And we could see that that particular area had changes in the water extent around imagery around the July, where they have quite heavy rains, July and August. And we could couple that data with the European Space Agency land cover data, and we could show the impact of flooding. So also, how can we monitor our crop productivity from space? Using the tool, we have different notebooks. We have one on crop health, which I'll be able to show you, for example, where we have some farming in Chipanama. I know most of our farming in southern western or southern eastern, but wherever you're farming, you can be able to see. Even when I made the joke to Ignatius that some of us are mobile farmers, you're doing your farming from Lusaka, and you're always calling the village to know what's happening. So you could use such a tool to actually see how the cropping is happening in the ground. So back to our example in the platform, and we go into the Sandbox. We could be able to see the platform. We have this good interface where we've organized our notebooks in different thematic areas. And when now we go to the crop health example for Chipanama, you could have the coordinates of the area where you could borrow from Google Maps or GPS location from your phone. And we're able to run to that particular area. And yours is just to digitize some plots that you yourself have the knowledge of. Maybe here you're growing maize, there you're growing millet, or you're growing a different crop, or maybe one crop didn't do very well in one session. And you know, the way we do these crop circles around Southern Africa and also some part of North Africa, especially in Egypt. So it gives you an idea of maybe the product's productivity, or also advise you on how your irrigation is working. And also with our recent collaboration with the International Water Management Institute, we are working on something on evapotranspiration and rainfall. And we'll be able to show you in the next few minutes that particular example. So today is really a great session, worth your time. And as the recording will be shared shortly, you'll be able to see how we can follow on these various examples. We can also look at forecasting vegetation condition as an example where we worked with one of the PhD researchers who was doing his PhD in Zimbabwe. And he had developed a model where it was able to forecast vegetation like in the next 2 months. And we were able to use it in some of the locations with different partners. And we've seen that it's going in the right direction. So it's more of testing and also having the feedback from different partners. We also have the vegetation anomalies, very key at 30 meters. Initially, we developed them using Landsat, but we coupled them with Sentinel 2 so that it can run from 2017 onwards. And this is very key to unlock vegetation climatology at country level or at any level. And you can download the data as well. Active irrigated cropping is very key as one of the asks by different partners. And here we are using Landsat surface temperature data and coupled with the rainfall and temperature data from ARI5 sensors. We're able to map some of the possibilities of irrigation. In terms of urbanization, we can just see what's happening in our cities. This is one of the notebooks on urbanization. It gives you a step-by-step how cities have grown over time, and possibly noting areas which have grown and areas which have declined and areas which have remained urban. So in this particular example, we can run this example and see. And this notebook is in the real world example. It's called Urban Change Detection. This is where you put in the coordinates for Lusaka, and you can see our city. And now we also add in Sentinel data. The cloud-free mosaic is called GeoMedian satellite, where I'll also do another demo just as a recap of today's session. So we use the enhanced urban index called NTC, which is very key based on the different run-ins we've had and experience. We try to demonstrate how it works for different countries, different cities, and different places and different locations. So this is an example of urban change, and it's very good for different analysis. So we could also run other indices on the urbanization. I'll be able to show you some of the notebooks as well, because I know as ZAGIT, there could be many expectations from today's presentation. We could also be interested to look at urban green spaces. So we also have a great collaboration with Sahel and West Africa Club. And as part of their data called Africa Police, it's possible to reference the data they've collected on green space and compare it with the European space world cover data and try to see what is happening for the different cities in terms of green space, which will be different because of, as we know, the impact of climate change. Also, we received feedback that people wanted to know more information about burnt areas, as we know, coupled with climate change. We have this notebook on burnt area mapping using Sentinel-2 data, and we've been able to showcase some of examples in different areas. And it's very useful, especially if you have the ground information on your area, and it's able to connect with MODIS data for validation. In terms of land degradation, which has really affected our continent, we worked with our partner Sahar and Sahel Observatory in Tunisia and our partner Afrigist in Nigeria to develop a module on land degradation. And some of the topics covered there, we have land cover classification, forest monitoring, burnt area mapping using Sentinel-2, and also tracking desertification. So with the same partner, we are working this year to develop something on soil organic carbon and a land degradation service, which will be ready around there, June, July, so that we can use and see how our country, Zambia, has grown and some of the hotspot areas to watch out for. We are working closely with our partner Esri as part of the Africa Geo Portal. Our datasets are also hosted, and some of the datasets are now taking advantage of the Geo Portal tools, like one of them on monitoring flooding. And we had a series of webinars the month of October in English, French, and Arabic, and we continue to explore various resources to make sure we work with different partners to empower all these communities. Our collaboration with the International Water Management Institute has been very instrumental. And in this particular example, we were supporting their program, Digital Innovation for Water Secure Africa. This program was also working in Zambia. We had a training a few weeks ago, and some of the areas where we are looking at is supporting rainfall statistics, evapotranspiration, and soil moisture in irrigation basin. We've worked closely with our partner, International Water Management Institute, to co-develop module, and this module has those topics that I mentioned. And we started with Ethiopia, then we had the training for Ghana and Burkina Faso, and also respectively now we had Zambia. So it means we're on track. We are part of this great network so that we can learn more and have important resources for our country. So some of the modules available in this course, we have introduction, rainfall statistics, evapotranspiration, and soil moisture in an irrigation basin. Just some examples of these notebooks, we can see what happens for the rainfall statistics. It connects with the rainfall data, and you ask us to input data on the rainfall basin. This was an example of Awash Basin in Ethiopia, south of Addis Ababa. And we are loading data, the rainfall, and comparing respectively for those catchment, sub-catchment areas, comparing which catchments have been dry and some of them have been wet based on the indices, the rainfall, the red being less rain experienced in those areas at different times of the year. So that one can also guide you on the farming expectations from those areas. So plotting the rainfall is very key to identify those sub-catchments, and working closely with the Ministry of Irrigation Ethiopia, provide an advice on how the situation is, or even prehistoric information that might have been collected by our farmers, and collectively representing this information in terms of statistics that can actually be used in another program. For example, you could try to do more data visualizations using R or other platforms that you might have, and you have a summary of such sub-catchment in terms of analysis. And you can see areas which are more likely to be having more rainfall, and those ones with the least, especially in red, and the ones in blue, favorable areas, which could mean it supports different cropping, or where it's really dry, there is a need for the government to put efforts on irrigation. So that is the data on sub-catchment as a CSV file, and also you get the data that you can present in your chart as an analysis of maps for the area that you've created. That's very key for representing information. That was for the rainfall, and also we could do the same for the statistics for our, that was, so this is the next example, that is the rainfall statistics. Then in the next example, now we have evapotranspiration as well. We try to use the same example for the same area, and this notebook within less than 1 minute it's able to complete, and you need reference data on the basin that you might be looking at, and with that be able to load the data itself and load the land cover data that we are trying to connect to the European Space Agency land cover types, and be able to plot this information, as you can see, and then now loading the actual evapotranspiration data, which will take some time, but it completes. And in case of any bugs, we're able to debug for you. And in case your microphone is on, you could try to mute. So this one takes less than a minute to produce the statistics, and it's quite a fit for purpose tool for all. So we have many applications, as I'll do maybe a summary of what is possible, as well as a recap of the session we've had today. Also looking at the other example of soil moisture, which can be key for any new applications in agriculture. So you start and rerun all the cells, and it will take maybe a few minutes to complete. And be able to connect to your data. Ask your data to the irrigation basin. And be able to plot the individual bands so that you can get the vegetation index to give you an idea of the greenness. Then also be able to compute further bands as well, especially the moisture index. So it gives you an idea of the heat stress and an advice on how your farming is proceeding in the different areas, and maybe areas that you may need to add more water, or others are receiving more water than others. so that you can actually be able to balance your yield or how much you can get from each individual parcels. So then you can generate a CSV file, which if you need to do more analysis, you might do it in your other platform, either you're using R statistics or any other platforms that you might have. So that was an example on the IMI work. Then we have our training courses in English and French. And also we have all our data sets in the GitHub so that you might want to get more information. And also we have the live sessions that we share every week. Then also I'll be able to share with you just a quick recap of what we've covered. So this is acknowledging the partners. And here I want to go back to give you just another overview of what we might have covered and those ones who might have joined us now. So the digitalafrica.org website, this is where I can see some of you also connecting from their phone. So it's just to give you an access on where you can start, and in the platform, you'll be able to see how to access the Digital South Africa map, the Sandbox if mentioned, and the list of the notebooks that we have, access also to the Africa Geo Portal, for example. We could look at that one. And also we have the Metadata Explorer. And in the Africa Geo Portal, you'll be able to see, there you're able to sign in your tools. And we have our resources and data also in the same platform. In the Digital Africa Explorer, our datasets are loaded there as well in the Living Atlas, and we could access our datasets that are available. For example, going to Lusaka. So here with our datasets, we could see what you can do. So here we can add some of our datasets. We can look at the layers available. You might want to use maybe our water observation from space. So which now when we load it, it will be able to load for the small water bodies respectively. Then also you can also sign in and get your unique load data. So also mostly when you zoom around, let's now add the layers. You can also compare imagery. We can add the base maps. So on the base maps, so here is where we can do comparison. We could put our Sentinel-2 on this side. Then on the other image, we can use our Landsat. And then we can use different indices we've been downloading. So it could take some time. So this other side is Sentinel-2. So then you can change to pick agriculture. And the other one you can change to use another index. Then we can go to our possible areas where there's some cropping. So the caveat of the internet as well. So the other one has loaded and it was on agriculture information. Then on this one, we can also do the same so that we can have the feel of the two and the Landsat and the other one on Sentinel-2 Geomad. We can also use that Sentinel data that we pick, which is available every 5 days, and you can choose to add dates and clip to when it's available. So it's a very interesting tool that you can take advantage from the Esri side as well, and load in different data sets, even the crop mask, and so on and so on. So this is the water one. You can also remove the background so things can load faster. Sometimes based on your internet connectivity and how fast your mouse is moving. So to get a direction of where we are in case we went to a different location, actually continent. So this data on boundaries is very key. You can see we had gone far. Now we are back home in Lusaka. So just pausing there, you can see the data sets being loaded, our water bodies. And you can see Kariba, for example. Here is Kariba actually. And you could look at the background data, seeing the different areas, even moving to the north to try to track Bangweulu. A very interesting section here. So this is just what is available on the water observation from space. And then with their tools, you could do some other activities like comparison. So here we could also put the same water observation from space and try to see how it is. And on the right side, you can also use a different imagery. For example, you could use the Landsat and look at their water index or another index that would be having. Could even put agriculture just to show you in the background what is happening. So this is just our data on the Africa Geo Portal, and then we have our learning materials on the same. Here it's we have some modules and tutorials that we've developed with them, where you can actually explore, and there are 3 tutorials as well, which is very nice. That was an example of our partnership with Africa Geo Portal. Then back to the maps of the digital earth, which is a key resource. I'll put the link here. You can get the same link on the platform side, the digitalafrica.org website, and here be able to move possibly to Lusaka, for example, and we could add data that is available, just showing you a demo what we have. So we have satellite imagery, the reflectance. We have Sentinel 2 every 5 days, and here you clip to your section. Of course, there's a caveat of the cloud cover. That's why the program went ahead and developed the GeoMud. So here, looking for a crowd-free, we might be challenging, especially this time of the season with the rains. But we're always able to at least have an idea. If we go to the middle of the year, could have something. So towards the end of the year, we have we could have, but the varying times like the October-ish. But that should not worry you. We have the cloud mosaics on the satellite. We have the GeoMud, like the Sentinel 2. We have the, let me just show you the GeoMuds that we've covered. Here they are. And here we have Sentinel 2 for the whole continent, and shows you an image for 2022, an average of all images in 1 year, and we are planning to develop for every year. And the good thing with this one is that you can do a compare, and you compare what was an average of the whole of 2017 and try to see how our cities have changed. You might see something, you might zoom in further to actually see if you've witnessed some changes, maybe some areas or some developments. Especially here, we have some farming. The good thing with this one now, we can change our indices to NDVI for both years, and we can see how the situation is between those like almost 7 years, 2017 and 2022, around 5 years. You can see how the situation has been. And in the same one, where we have a water body around here, and now we can add our data on the water bodies. We could add the water observation from space as a all-time summary. And now this one, we can change the legend to actually guide us how the water is, etc., etc. And also, if you're happy with what you're seeing on the screen, you can actually make a link and I will copy it in the chat just for you to follow up from your end. If also you want, you can also create a story map and capture screen, etc., etc. So all this we have is fit for purpose for everybody, and the link can be shared with everybody. So you can also choose to remove and explore our data sets. We have data on agriculture, the crop mask, showing you the probability of cropping. So of course, everything will appear as green, but the probability of cropping, if you look at the legend, values close to 80% and above will be able to capture cropping areas like the ones we were seeing. And also you could add another data like on the water, so that now I can share the link also in the chat for you to do a comparison and visually see. So a very interesting resource, making sure that we provide you with the resources that you need. So as a recap, we have access to all the datasets, the Sentinel and the Landsat, and also you've seen other sources of data, even the radar from Sentinel-1, we could load it. And this one is captured every, at least twice a month, you can get for an area. In the case of February, so you can change between the various polarization. We also have the radar vegetation index trying to really capture, but it's still experimental. And in case you had some flooding events, the radar really captures it very well. So you could also do a visualization of what has happened maybe other years, and you can see the differences in those images. So it seems those ones of 2019, this area was really looking nice compared to now over time. So it gives you an idea. One can be on the left and the other on the right, and also you can choose in. So this one we're looking at different dates, very good for comparison, and even very key to unlock a lot of potential. So this one I'll put it in the chat for you, just to see and follow, and possibly can help you also in our question and answer session. And also just to finalize, we have our training and help, where you're able to see the links to the training material. And here you're able to see even to submit a new use case request. And here you're able to click and come to the training dashboard. And here you have many courses, and at least the whole idea for ZAGIT is to see if you can start with the introduction to Sandbox, where some of our colleagues have started, and you'll get a certificate of participation, and you'll be able to actually be able to grow yourself somehow. And you can view any of the courses and see the course organizers, etc., etc. And once you finish the course, you will get to look at your progress, and you can see your certificate, for example, all the logos. So it's very nice for us to look at resources to build our country and our countries, to make sure we're able to compete very well. We also have the user guide as well, which is very nice because it gives you step by step, and it's also, the link is also on the training and help. It gives you documentation of everything, like on the Sandbox, to just show you how to start, how to sign up in the Sandbox, and possibly in the next session that we organize, we could do now more demonstrations so that you can be able to see how you can work. And just on my Sandbox, these are the folders that we have, and most of those examples I had tried to have screenshots ready, and many notebooks that are available. And back to our page, digital.org, we have our YouTube channel, where like this one will be recorded and uploaded here as one of the live sessions. So we try to make sure that we create sessions that you can be able to follow up and empower yourself to be able to use the platform very well. So I wish almost to We're almost there at the clock, and also thanking the team at ZAGIT for making sure today we are connected, and please, together with you, we'll be able to unlock the potential of tomorrow together. So I wish to stop here, Margaret, and ask for question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. I think in the words of Mr. Sikasula, this has been brilliant, and I think also very empowering.